Hey, good morning, everyone. Tiffany Mint, welcome to Morning Tea with Tiffany. Thank you guys for joining today. It's a rainy day. I didn't go out for my walk this morning because it's not so nice outside. So I just sort of threw on some earrings and, my jewelry and jumped online here this morning. I am drinking honey lavender this morning, I think. Honey lavender. Okay, I'm on live this morning with my phone. So again, I can't see unless you tell me you're here. I can't see whether you're here or not. And like I was telling you guys before, I love doing the live with this new ring light because it just makes my face look so vibrant, especially when you just wake up in the morning. Good morning, Andy. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Okay, so we're gonna start like we always do with our morning prayer. Dear Lord, you have brought me to the beginning of a new day. As the world is renewed, fresh and clean, so I ask you to renew my heart with your strength and your purpose. Forgive me the errors of yesterday and bless me to walk closed in your way today. This is the day I began my new life. Shine through me so that every person I may feel your presence in me. Take my hand, precious Lord, for I cannot make it by myself. Oh, in Jesus' name, amen. I hope that the connection is okay because I'm getting some feedback here. Hey, Kathy, good morning. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining. I see your name sometimes. When I go back to my insights to see who was watching, and sometimes I see your name there. So thanks so much for joining me this morning. How have you been? For those of you who are on but have maybe not said hello yet this morning, Kathy and I used to work together some years ago. And she's a sweetheart, has always been a sweetheart, and kind of helped me through, some really trying times, in my mortgage banking career. Great lady, and I'm just so blessed to have her on the line today. Kathy, thank you so much for joining. Not yesterday, Friday, we talked about a couple of different things, and I wanted you guys to write in your journal. And we're going to get to that in a second. But I had just a couple of announcements that I wanted to share really quickly. Over the weekend on Saturday, I was a part of a community summit, a virtual community summit. It was online. I'm from Hudson, New York. And this community summit was for, anybody who wanted to join, but mainly for communities or individuals from the Hudson community, just sort of sharing things about their life. They talked about COVID-19 and some of the things that they were doing. My piece was on a journey to entrepreneurship. I actually interviewed my mom because she has recently started Pink Zebra, which is candles. And I think I might have mentioned what the story was behind Pink Zebra. Pink stands for powerful women, and the zebra, because their stripes are so unique, when they join together, they're unstoppable. And the story was so great, and the aromas are fabulous. So my mom's selling that. I actually just created a Facebook page for her. It's Luella Harrow independent consultant. Good morning, Monica. And if you like candles, if you burn candles, these candles are fabulous. They're great. And they have these little things called, I think they're called sprinkles. My mom sent them to me for my birthday. And basically they're just these little teeny tiny candle wax that is scented, and they look like sprinkles. And you pour them into a candle holder, add your wick to it. It all comes in a little kit. And then you burn it and it smells beautiful. So if you're a candle person, you might like that. And I'll put my mom's Facebook page and website information into the links after this live, so you guys can see that. But anyway, so I was on this summit, and just sort of speaking to my experience. I interviewed my mom, an old friend of mine, who actually started the summit. She's a writer. And she spoke about, her journey to, writing her books and the books that she has available. It's really interesting. And then, of course, I talked about my journey through mortgage banking and finance, and what my passions are, and sort of talked a little bit about my business. So if that's something that you're interested in, I will definitely post the links to the replay. There is a fee to watch it. It's $4.99. But if you're interested, it was a really good interview, and there's lots of talks on there. So it's not just my talk. There's tons of others, and you can pay the fee for an all-day pass, I think, and watch all the different things. There was a pastor on there who was speaking, which she really generated a huge audience, and it was really good. But anyway, just go and check it out. It was good. It was good. So I wanted to talk about that. I will put the information in my in the box at that point. Hey, Stacy, thanks for joining. Also, I'm so glad Stacy popped up on here, because the company that she works for is hiring processors, closers, underwriters. Have to be experienced, but they have immediate job openings. So Stacy asked me to put that information in the live this morning, or actually I've been putting it in the live the last couple of mornings. But if you have experience in mortgage banking and you're looking for an underwriting position, processing, closing position, there are immediate openings available, and Stacy's the person that you need to talk to in order to apply or to reach out. Okay. All right. So can you guys see me okay? Is the lighting okay? I got this new ring light, and I'm playing with the settings and stuff. So hopefully it's not too dark. On my end, it looks fine, but just let me know, and I can sort of play around with the settings here. All right. So getting into our topics. Oh, there's a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. As I'm playing around with Facebook Live and just really trying to thanks, Stacy. Stacy says I look great. Thank you so much. As I'm trying to, sort of increase my audience, I think over the next couple of weeks, as I learn to do this, I'm going to have like some polling questions that I'm going to put on here, and also a link to for you guys to put your email address in, so I can send you like some of my blogs that I'm starting to do, newsletters, and things of that nature. If you're interested, I noticed that I have, quite a few people who kind of jump on now. The audience is growing, which I'm very excited about. So thank you very much. And so I want to add a few different things so that we can continue to stay connected. So I'll be doing that as I learn more. This is kind of a new thing for me. And also I would like to, at some point in time, be able to maybe use Zoom so that we can have interviews. We can talk to each other. through Zoom. So I'm working on all of that. I really wanted to wait until I had a good audience and a good following, and people are following. So in the upcoming, weeks, months, just look out for stuff like that. And if you'd like to, be on the talk, right, with Morning Tea and Tiffany, if you have something that you'd like to share, then I would love to have you. I would love it. It would be so much fun. So I just want you to, just keep that in mind. I think that's it as far as announcements, unless anybody else has anything. If you do, just pop it in there in the in the comments, and I'll read them so that everybody can see. All right. So our topics this morning are, we had 2 writing prompts. One of them was optional. The one, our regular writing prompt is describe a moment that you experienced through your body. A moment that you experienced through your body. Okay. And Andy actually shared something with me that I thought was just so inspirational. And I'm not, because I'm on my phone rather than my computer, or actually, well, you know what, I'm going to ad lib it. And Andy, you can fill in the blanks if you choose to, and just sort of share with people how you felt. But I'm going to talk about Andy's experience first, and then I'll talk about my own. And if you guys have stuff that you want to talk about, just go ahead and put it in the chat box. All right. So Andy, she had a time when, as women, okay, I know there's probably some men watching as well, but we're going to talk about the female for a second. Honey lavender this morning. Very good. So, we all go through those times, right, during our cycles where, it can be really difficult. Some of us have more difficult times than others. And I myself, dealt with fibroid tumors for quite some time and ended up having to have a hysterectomy. But Andy had a story where she too had developed severe fibroid tumors to the point where they were just, debilitating. And based upon what she's shared with me, is it was huge. Okay. And she ended up having to, or not. Okay. Let me back up. Sorry, I'm not getting this right, Andy. The surgery was going to be scheduled for this tumor to be removed. And Andy is, believes in God, and, has a very close relationship with God, always has. And she was terrified to actually go through the surgery. She was mortified, and she didn't want to go through with it. And so, she prayed and prayed and prayed, and God answered her prayers. She says softball size. Yeah, so the tumor was the size of a softball. You know how big a softball is. And she believed, how we say all the time, the power of God is just, it's so powerful if you believe. And so she prayed on it, and, asked that she not have to go through this surgery, and believed that she would be healed. So not only did she ask for it, but she put it in God's hands and believed that she would be healed. And the moral of the story is this, is 24 hours before the surgery, well, she called her doctor because she woke up and she had no bleeding, okay, because she was bleeding like crazy all the time. Woke up after praying, and there was no bleeding. And so she said, I'm healed. She believed that she was healed. Called her doctor. Andy, if I'm not getting this right, put it in the chat box. Called her doctor and said, I'm not bleeding. I believe the tumor's gone. Good morning, Karen. And doctor says, come in, let's check you out. Came in, she went in, no tumor. Tumor's gone. Completely gone. And the doctor, from what I understand, was also, very religious and a Christian, and believes obviously in the healing and the power of God thing. She says I'm doing great, so that's good. And she says, I've canceled your surgery. There's no tumor. And so the tumor was gone because of the power of prayer. And that story is just so amazing. And, I want to kind of speak to that because one of the things, that I struggle with a lot, even to this day, and I believe in God, and God has blessed me with so many, blessings. I mean, it's unreal. And, many times I don't feel like I'm deserving of the blessings that he's bestowed upon me. But one of the things that I've always, struggled with, and I think we all do, is the fact that, we ask God for help, right? And but we take it back, so we put it in this box, if you can imagine, just having a kind of like we have suggestion boxes at work for those of us who have worked in the office. You put a suggestion on the piece of paper and you throw it in the box and you hope that somebody takes your suggestion. Well, the comparison to that is, having a box that you put your prayers in, things that things that you want God to answer for you. And what we do is we put these pieces of paper into the box, put it in the box for God to handle, right? And then we take it right back out, because we want to control what happens. And so, her story is a prime example of her putting that in this is God's going to take care of this box, right? And leaving it there for God to take care of, And, I'm guilty of it all the time. I give it to God and then I want to mingle, I want to be all involved in it. And sometimes we block our blessings because we do that. So I have to work on that myself, like if I'm giving it to God, if it's in that box for God to handle, I need to leave it in the box and just trust that he's going to take care of it, that he's going to handle it. So, for those of you who do believe in the power of God, get a box for God. I don't know what we want to call it. This is God's going to handle this box or something. I don't know, but put it there and leave it there and watch the power of God. Watch the power of God. That's what I have to say about that. Andy says, yes, doctor and I prayed together beforehand. Okay. So before, I guess she, got the ultrasound, they prayed together and it was gone. And it's a living miracle. Okay. So that's a beautiful story. I wanted to share it today. Andrea also says, I told my church family before my ultrasound that I was healed. Pretty presumptuous. Well, no, I wouldn't call it presumptuous. You put it in your box for God to handle, and you trusted that he was going to handle it. That's what you did. You trusted in God. Nothing wrong with being presumptuous when God's in the mix. Monica says, I have two moments. One was when I had my oldest son. when my doctor pulled him out, I suddenly had this hollow feeling. Let me get my glasses, guys. So sorry. Suddenly had this hollow feeling. It was nothing like I had felt before. I felt empty and I started crying because I felt like I lost part of me. I loved seeing him, but it was hard dealing with that feeling. Wow. Wow. So, was it, Monica, that, because you had carried him for 9 months, it gave you a feeling of being whole. And then when he was no longer there and he was in your arms, was that the feeling that you had? I mean, explain that, because, holding your child for the first time in your arms is also a beautiful and fulfilling feeling. But I can imagine how, you could have felt lost or empty, having carried him for 9 months. So, elaborate for us on that a little bit, if you will. But I think I understand, where you're coming from with that. Does anybody else have anything that they want to share? I don't see anything else in the box. I know as women, a lot of us go directly to, our childbearing experiences. That was my story as well. My firstborn was almost 8 weeks early. And for me, it was a miracle because I dealt with fibroids as well. I was told that I would not be able to have children. And so Imani was like a miracle baby, because my husband and I, we were going to try, in vitro and a lot of different types of, testing and, I don't even know what you call it. I'm losing my words, guys. I'm so sorry, but you know what I mean. And it was like $20,000 for in vitro. It's like $20,000 a pop, so for every try. So it's very expensive. But again, the power of prayer, because one day, and it was actually Father's Day when I found out I was pregnant, which was really ironic, but I just felt pregnant. It was weird. I don't remember what company I was working for, but I remember we were going, whatever company it was, we were going on the Spirit of Norfolk for a company trip, a company gathering or something. And I wasn't going to go because I wasn't feeling well, but I actually remember feeling like I was pregnant. And but I knew that I couldn't get pregnant, because we had already been to the doctor and they said, I couldn't get pregnant. But something just told me to take a pregnancy test when I got home, when I got off the boat. Because while I was on the boat, I was feeling nauseous, sick, just, all of that. And Matt was out of town, I think at a basketball clinic or something. I can't remember. And I remember I went and got the pregnancy test and came home and took it thinking I'm not, no way, I'm pregnant. But I too prayed upon it and wanted to be, desperately wanted to be able to have a baby. And sure enough, it was positive. It was positive. I remember calling, Matt on Father's Day, telling him that he was going to be a father, So that's my story. And but as far as so that's one part of the feeling through my body is just like, like, I don't know. People generally associate, not getting their menses, with possibly being pregnant. For me, it wasn't even about that. Like I wasn't even due to have my period. just felt like I was pregnant. So it was weird. It was a really weird experience. But she came almost 8 weeks early, and she was 4 pounds, 13 ounces. She was a teeny tiny baby, but healthy, and everything was great. Now she's still teeny tiny. She's only 5'1", but she thinks she's 5'2". She's only 5'1". We joke about that all the time, but she's still a little teeny tiny thing. But she was our miracle baby, and so Imani means faith, okay, and we named her that because of the power of prayer. We had faith that God was going to give us a child, and He did. So that's my story. Andy says, I was told I wasn't going to have children either. Sorry guys, I'm having trouble here. I tried for 5 years, did fertility stuff. Yes, that was the word that I couldn't think of, fertility. Gee whiz. Gave up, gave it to God. All of a sudden, I was 49 days late and 7 weeks pregnant. Miracle. Yeah, isn't that something? So isn't it interesting, guys, that, we talk about, our topic was a moment experienced through our body, and Jesus and God fills the room. Isn't that amazing how that happens? And so, I'm basically going to leave it there unless somebody else has something to share. But I think, there's something to be said about having God in your life. And again, this live is not a religious or political live at all. I like to say that every single time, because I know that there are people who have different beliefs, and I'm not trying to, pour my beliefs onto anyone else, but I have faith, and I love God, and I'm not afraid to share that with people. And so every once in a while, I got to put it out there, and hopefully, those who listen can appreciate that and continue to listen. But if not, I totally respect it. But, this is what we do. And when God enters the room, we give Him the floor. The floor is all yours. So that's where we are. All right. So that was a moment experienced through your body. The other thing that I tasked you all with is, again, let me get my glasses on so I can see what's happening here. Do you frequently interrupt people? Okay, so this was our self-reflection question. Do you frequently interrupt people or constantly think of your own stories to share while they're talking? How many of you do that? How many of you do that? You're having a conversation with someone, okay, and they're talking, and we're not actively listening, okay? We hear something, we get stuck on what we hear. We want to respond to what we hear, but we don't want to be rude. So in our mind, we are like trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to respond to that? What do you think about that? What do you think that is, and why do you think we do that? And I'll wait in case anybody wants to put anything in the box while I drink my honey lavender tea. Oh, I think my sister's watching. Trina, this is my group. Got Andy, Kathy, Stacy, Karen. Who else is on here? Monica, all my buddies. All right. Stacy says, yup, have needed to make a conscious effort for many years to get better. I'm better at it, but I still struggle. We all We all do that, Stace. I'm telling you. Okay, so what that is called? Remember I said in one of my other lives is that I do a class on effective communication. Well, part of that class, and if you want to take that class, I do offer. I canceled my Saturday classes because lack of registration, but I'm happy to put that class right back on the calendar if any of you guys are interested. Okay, so go to my website, tsmmortgageprofessionals.com. Give me a call, 804-505-0887. Email tmint, that's MYINT at tsmmtgpros.com. Just a little plug there because we talk about this in my class. Okay, what do you guys know what that's called when you do that? There's an actual word for it. Okay, it's active listening, but there's a word for that particular behavior. Can you guys guess what that word might be? It's if you think about it, you could probably guess. Stacy says, okay, wait, hold on, guys. I have to say what I need to say first, because otherwise when they're talking, I'm trying not to forget what I want to say. Okay, that's Andy. That's what she's saying. Stacy's saying my whole family is loud and talks over each other since kids. I was just going to say that, Stacy. It's the Italian in you. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. I love it. Okay. All right. Monica says, Monica says, I used to be really bad about that. I'm not going to lie. I do it sometimes still, but I try to stop myself. My sister says I need a family discount. Yeah, Trina, you could actually use to take my class. Okay. Yeah, I love it. Rudeness, interruptious. Okay. Interrupt to kid. What is that, Stacy? I can't even pronounce it. Is it even a word? No. The word is rehearsing, believe it or not. That is what the word is. It's called rehearsing. The definition is planning out what we want to say next in our mind, missing what is being said now in this moment. And believe it or not, a lot of us are good at this, right? So we give off signs that we are listening. So we're like, yeah. Oh, really? And have no idea what the heck they're saying, because in our minds, we're trying to figure out how we're going to respond to whatever it is that they're saying. So our minds are totally in a different place. Okay. So what I want to ask you guys is what happens in the conversation? Like, what do you think when all this is going on? And our minds are very powerful tools, right? Because we can multitask like nobody's business. But what do you think happens in the conversation when we are in our minds trying to rehearse what's going on? What do you think happens? Anybody? Well, the most obvious thing is that we're really not listening. So we miss the entire point. So whether are in a heated discussion, whether we're in a conversation where we're trying to learn something and receive information. Hey Karen, I see you pop back on again. We don't know what's happening in the conversation. We lose sight of what's going on. And if you're in a conversation with someone who needs you at the moment, or values what you're saying, or just needs someone to listen or hear them, you've lost what they've given you in that discussion. It's totally gone. And then the conversation then becomes more about you than it does about the other person. So it's important in effective communication to be an active listener. And that's what we mean by being an active listener, being completely engaged in the discussion and hearing what the other person has to say. We learn more when we do that. When you're an active listener, you actually learn more. You learn more about the other person. You learn more about whatever subject it is that you're speaking to or you're listening to. It's really important, and it's a huge part of communication, a huge part. The listening is the better part of communications. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Why do you think that is? Because it's more important to listen than it is to speak. So that's really important. So we talked about what happens in the conversation. I want you to share with me, how do you feel? Like, there are times when you know that someone's mind is on something else, okay, and not on what it is that you're talking about. How does that make you feel? Sometimes it makes me upset because, and I shut down. If I feel like I'm trying to have a conversation with someone and I know that they're not listening, or even if I'm, being presumptuous in the sense of, I know that if I start sharing my thoughts or my feelings or my ideas, that this person is not going to hear me. So why even bother with the conversation? So a lot of times we shut down. I've been guilty of that. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to share because there's no need. Why? Why share? Because here's what's going to happen. Either one, that person is going to be thinking about, how they're going to respond to what I'm saying, or if it's a situation where you're sort of like arguing in a sense, they're not going to hear your side. A lot of times when you're in a heated discussion, you want to be heard, you need to be heard. And part of effective communication is that give and take. Please tell me how you feel. I'm going to listen and hear how you feel, and then I'm going to respond. And I would appreciate, the reciprocation, right? But if you're in a relationship or a friendship or, whatever, and that other person is not going to hear you, they're whatever you say, they're thinking about a counter reaction, right? Then a lot of times we just shut down. And communication is a huge part of why marriages don't stay together. I mean, believe it or not, a lot of people say, finances, and that's a huge part as well. But the bigger part of it is the communication. So learning to be an active listener can go a really, really long way. If anybody else has something to share, I'd like to hear it. Let's see. Andy says, that's why I emailed you my fibroid story so that I wouldn't be typing and trying to listen at the same time. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see. Stacy says it helps to be present in the moment. Yes, it does, and that's what we need. When we're opening up and having a conversation with someone, the whole goal is to have that person be present, for us to be present in the moment and that individual to be present in the moment. And when that doesn't happen, it's not effective, number one, but it really causes us to shut down, and not communicate, so then there becomes that gap widens with every one of those conversations when we do that. And the whole purpose is to try and close that gap, right? Not widen it. So, try to be an active listener. I think it's so important to any relationship you have, any friendship that you have, the whole talking over each other. I know that's got to be so annoying, and sometimes it's fun. It's friendly banter, and that's all great and wonderful. But in those moments when you really need to express how you feel about something, it can be very difficult. And it also contributes to depression as well, because you don't feel like you can get out what you need to get out, because you have someone that you want to talk to, or you need to talk to, who is not listening. Or you could actually be that person too. And, it's not the other person all the time. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's me. In fact, a lot of times it's me. Especially those people who are defensive by nature. You know what I mean? Like they always have to have a reason or excuse to, as to why they did something or why they said something, if that is you, again, these are moments of self-reflection. Okay. So if that is you, I encourage you to think about some conversations that you've had recently, or even the next conversation that you have with someone, and ask yourself, try to stop yourself, ask yourself, am I rehearsing? When you hear something that you need to respond to immediately, right? Because we all get into that place. I know I do. Try to stop yourself and think, whatever is in my brain right at this moment, it needs to go away so that I can be present and in the moment, right? That's what you got to do. That's what you have to do. And let me know, or, how's that working for you? You know what I mean? Like, when you become aware that that's what you're doing, and you make a change for the better to try and help it, how's that working in your relationship? Just think about that. A lot like Trina says, is a lot like the screaming and yelling. You're the counselor of Facebook. Get a page ready, PayPal, because you have my money. You are good. I am not a counselor, but I am, as we all are who join this live, we have wisdom, right? Because as we grow older, we experience things. The reason I can speak to this kind of stuff is not because, I'm the smartest person on earth. It's because I experience those things, as we all do. So, being wise just is experience, and not being afraid to talk about those experiences. Why do you think we love comedians so much? Because they speak the truth, right? And they put a funny little spin on it. I'm no comedian, but one thing I have always done is wear my feelings and my thoughts and everything all over me. So you will always know where you stand with me and how I feel about things, because I can't sleep if I don't say what's on my mind. And, a lot of times we shut down. I have done that as well, but, I have to say what's on my mind. That's why these lives are so fun for me, because I just get to speak and say whatever I want to say, and engage with people and encourage people to be able to do the same thing, So that's me. Kathy says, so sorry, I have to leave the group for now. As usual, you're doing a wonderful presentation. Peace and love. Thanks, Kathy, for joining. I appreciate you. Andrea says, Dr. Phil said, tears ago, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I think of that often. Yeah. I think that's important, like, do you want to be happy? Because happiness is like Stacy said earlier, being present in the moment, having those discussions, hearing what another person has to say, having them hear what you have to say. And it makes life so much easier. Years ago, not tears ago. Yeah, I was thinking that too, but you never know, because Dr. Phil, he's kind of, he's a philosopher as well. So who knows? He could have said tears ago instead of years ago. Let's see. My sister is crazy. Do you wear it in your hair because it looks great? I don't know what that means, Trina. If you're saying that my hair looks great, thank you. I need a haircut. Actually, Matt's been cutting my hair recently because my hairstylist is not working right now. So I definitely need a haircut. But anyway, I don't know where we are time-wise, but it's probably a good point for us to sort of, come to the end of our reflection for today. So, oh, darn it. Okay. I have a listening exercise, which I forgot about. So tomorrow we will start with our listening exercise. It's called Listen Up. And I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm not going to do that now because I think we're getting close to 9 if we're not at 9 already. And I have to jump off and start my other job. But we're going to do the listening exercise tomorrow. So remind me of that, those of you who join me every day. Tuesday's writing prompt. So our prompt for tomorrow here's our writing prompt. The words I like to live by are, fill in the blank. Okay. The words I like to live by are, fill in the blank. That's tomorrow's writing prompt. So be prepared to talk about that tomorrow. All right. And then our self-reflection question. Again, you can choose to share or not share. This is self-reflection. So it's more about you, not about us. Right. I can't read my writing and I can't see. All right. Consider how you might feel if you were to do things that are good, but only for your own knowledge. All right. Get this now. Consider how you might feel if you were to do things that are good, but you don't tell anybody about it. You just keep it to yourself. Okay. Let me know how you feel about that, if that's something that you're able to do. All right. So basically, if you could not tell anyone, okay, so you do something great, good, and you can't tell anybody, how would you feel about that? How does that make you feel? All right. And okay, that's all I have. All right. So guys, it is after 9 o'clock. I appreciate you always. Okay. I am going to put the information for the summit that I did this past Saturday. If you want to jump in there and take a look at it, I would appreciate it very much. I will put the link in for Pink Zebra in case you want to buy some candles. They really are great. The sprinkles are awesome. And I think that was it, right? I'll put my website in there if anybody wants to take the effective communication class, or if you feel that you know someone who could benefit from effective communication, have them give me a call. And tomorrow we will do our listening exercise. So I think that's it. Let's see. Anything else here nope. Everybody's just saying have a great day. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again for joining, guys. Bye-bye now.